Marvel Comics has been a huge name in my life for as long as I can remember. If I wasn't reading their comic books, I was watching their characters on the big screen. And Marvel has always had a huge presence in the toy aisle. Toy Biz made a name for itself selling Marvel action figures, and they did a great job of it too, introducing the absolutely iconic Marvel Legends line, as well as many lines covering cartoons and comic books. They did such a good job that when Marvel Comics was struggling, Toy Biz bought and merged with the company, saving it from bankruptcy. So toys and Marvel have almost always been intertwined. And when you have a successful brand like that, you're able to experiment with new ideas. And one idea Marvel has consistently gone back to is transforming toys. Transformers is obviously one of the most successful toy brands ever. And the idea of a toy that can turn into another toy is an evergreen idea. So both Toy Biz and later Hasbro, and even Spin Master, attempted to cash in on this concept, to varying degrees of success. What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and in today's video we're exploring the weird world of Marvel Transformers. I've learned about so many strange toys in the process of making this video, and I can't wait for you to see them. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it helps out the channel a bunch. This video is sponsored by TOYHAX. Hasbro continues to give Transformers less and less pain, so why not upgrade your figures using TOYHAX? Premium sticker decals that can improve even the most bland color scheme. They somehow even made Astro Train look good. If you really want to take your collection to the next level and turn your unpainted toys into mini masterpieces, check out TOYHAX.com, linked in the description below. The first toy line we'll be talking about is Shapeshifters, a 1998 toy line that was created by Toy Biz. Shapeshifters was treated as a subline of toys, and appeared under several different toy line banners, like Spider-Man and X-Men, but the line featured all kinds of cool transforming characters, like Wolverine, who transforms into a mega mutant wolf. It's pretty funny he doesn't turn into Wolverine. This line suffers from what I call body horror syndrome. We've seen it in lines like Animorphs and Digimon before, where the humanoid appearance of one mode makes the alternate mode look like a painful, torturous experience. At a certain point, you just need to tell yourself that no, it must actually feel really good to do that. I'm not going to highlight every single figure in the line, since they made a ton, but we'll talk about some of my favorites, like the Juggernaut, who looks pretty great in human mode. One thing I think is obvious is that Toy Biz prioritized the actual action figure modes over the alt modes, because a lot of them just turn into random stuff. Like the Juggernaut is a really solid action figure, but he turns into this goofy little tank, which is like fine, but you can tell this mode was secondary in terms of importance to the designer. I think some of the Spider-Man figures really nailed the concept, mostly because Spidey and his rogues are all animal themed already. So the lizard turns into a mutant alligator, and honestly he's one of the best looking figures in the line to me. His lizard mode looks badass, the sculpting is fantastic, and his mutant alligator mode is adorably chonky. There's also a repaint which I am dubbing G2 Lizard, because he's been given these insane blacklight colors. Totally weird and totally cool. Rhino predictably turns into a Rhino. I hate these weird polyp things on his body. I'm not sure why they did that. The Rhino mode is hilarious looking. Truly no thoughts in his head. Rhino also got a repaint. This variant of Rhino is actually a Smurf. You can't tell, but he is really Smurfing small. Spider-Man turns into a Spider Thing. I'm not going to outright say it's a spider because they kind of did a terrible job, but seeing these photos reminded me that this was actually one of my childhood Spider-Man toys. I remember him having all of these moving parts, but I'm not sure I ever realized he actually transformed. Specifically, I had the Night Force Spider-Man, so he's got that amazing fantasy black and red look going, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man looks. Spidey's evil counterpart, Venom, also got a figure, though instead of transforming into a spider, he turns into a bizarre Cerberus thing, which is kind of on brand for late 90s Venom toys. I do appreciate the articulated tongue, though the very visible butt cheeks on the back are a little bit off-putting. This Venom was later repainted into Carnage. There was another Spider-Man shapeshifter, and this one turned into a bat. That is so weird. Though it really gets weird when we start looking at the shapeshifters' weapons, which are very much the same idea as what we've already been looking at, but instead of animals or vehicles, the action figures transform into weapons. Iron Man, for example, transforms into a hatchet, which is certainly an idea. Believe it or not, this is one of the better weapons. It's goofy, but it does look like an axe, and it does have a fun spinning gimmick. Spider-Man transforms into a web shooter, which would be a good idea if it actually looked like one, but instead it just looks like a mess. At first I thought it was another screwed up spider mode. This Spider-Man also has a spider armor flavor. I swear, back in the day, the spider armor was one of his most important alternate costumes, but these days you hardly ever see it. If you're my age and were watching toy reviews on YouTube back in the day, you no doubt saw this Punisher toy, which looks pretty normal at first. This shapeshifter weapon transforms from Frank Castle to a pistol, Megatron style. Though it is quite an ugly pistol. But this figure is actually known for an extremely unfortunate design decision, where the barrel of the pistol is placed in an interesting position. I specifically remember watching the video by Jeepers Media. I actually had no clue the toy was even supposed to transform into a gun, because the dude didn't even show off the other mode. So my little kid self thought this was the entire point of the toy. Growing up watching YouTube was weird, man. Marvel Shapeshifters is not the best toy line in this video. Far from it, but it was so creative, tinged with that late 90s weirdness. And at a certain point, you just have to appreciate it. Growing up, I always saw the Marvel MegaMorphs commercial on TV, but I was never able to get one, which was maybe for the best. This 2006 Toy Biz line actually had a bit of lore, established by Pack-In comic books and the toy commercial. Dr. Doom is attacking the city, and it's up to the Marvel superheroes and their transforming mecha to fight him off. This was a weird, short-lived toy line. Each mecha came with a mini pilot Diaclone style, and they could transform into vaguely vehicle-shaped alternate modes. Unlike Shapeshifters, where the action figure modes felt prioritized, both of the Megamorph modes feel compromised and weird. Spider-Man had a pretty decent robot mode, but he turns into some straight BS. Like, I'm fine with fantasy vehicles, but it doesn't even look cohesive. It just looks like a mess. There was also a Venom retool, which has many of the same problems, but I do like the Venom color scheme and face sculpt. They're not all completely bad though. Ghost Rider is pretty cool, going from a skull-headed robot into a giant motorcycle, though the wheels on the motorcycle look really small and weird. Iron Man also looks decent. Since Iron Man's whole thing is armor and tech, his toys tend to work better in these lines just in general. He easily has the most cohesive robot and vehicle modes, going from a giant Iron Man robot to a jet. Though speaking of giant jets, here's a Wolverine, I guess? This jet mode is just pathetic. And look at this head sculpt. What the hell even is that? This is like an impressionist painting of Wolverine. Hulk is probably one of the most iconic figures from this line to me. A big, chunky figure, but he also seems fiddly, and weirdly thin in places like the legs. His vehicle mode is also just fine, but it does have that unfinished look that most of these toys have. The only supervillain besides Venom was Doc Ock, which had a mold of his own and looks terrible. I appreciate that they somehow worked his bowl cut into the robot head sculpt, but the robot looks crazy awkward, and he doesn't really have tentacles like you'd think Doc Ock would. He has some helicopter blades, which I guess are meant to convey the tentacles, or maybe he just doesn't need any on account of the giant mech suit. Captain America is hilarious. The robot mode is whatever, but his vehicle mode is straight up a helicopter with legs. They genuinely did not even try. Finally, there was the thing. The robot is predictably awkward looking, but here's the thing. The vehicle is at least kind of cute. I'll give it that at least. Overall, the Marvel MegaMorphs line was a huge miss. Marvel superheroes using mecha is a silly but very cool idea. These toys on the other hand are so half-baked that they don't even seem fun as oddities like the Shapeshifters. The next toy line is probably the most well-known, the Transformers Crossovers line of figures. At this point, the Marvel Master license had been transferred to Hasbro, since Toy Biz pretty much dissolved within the larger Marvel company. Of course, Hasbro owns Transformers, and with this newly acquired license, they tried their hand at Marvel Marvel Transformers. I have to say this is probably my favorite Marvel Transformers line, though I think they definitely missed a mark on a few things. For one, while these toys are unmistakably Hasbro Transformers, there are often strange design decisions you would never see in a proper Transformer, giving the vibe that this project was handed off to a totally separate team. But at least in my opinion, they still have that Transformers vibe in a way the previous toy lines did not. I also think it was a miss not to give the line any lore. Like, how cool would it be if Iron Man discovered Transformers, and he was able to use Cybertronian technology to build these mechs? These are mechs for the record, but they are also very much just robot versions of the heroes. No little figures included this time, which is interesting because the Star Wars crossover series did have minifigures. The first wave featured Hulk, who transforms into a tank. This is like a good version of that MegaMorphs toy. I love how chunky the tank is, with a short little barrel. He transforms into an equally chunky robot mode, and I think the silhouette on this guy is perfect. This Hulk was redecoed into a gray Hulk version, which is neat, and there was a second Hulk mold released as well, this time turning into a bulldozer. I think this figure doesn't look as strong design-wise, especially in robot mode. Those shoulders are weirdly low, but I still think he's cool. Iron Man got a ton of toys in this line. Like I said before, he's the character best suited for this concept, and the Iron Man movie just came out, so bro had just become mainstream. The first Iron Man figure was a fighter jet, which looks fine. It fits the character, but it's also a bit boring to me. This figure was redecoed into a more War Machine look, though he was still labeled as Iron Man. There was also a sports car Iron Man. He definitely looks like a car Tony Stark would drive. There was also a whole wave tying into Iron Man 2, specifically filed under the Iron Man 2 concept series. This line included several repaints of previous figures. The sports car mold was also repainted into War Machine. Spider-Man had numerous figures and repaints. His first figure transformed into a motorcycle, which I really like, mostly because I could imagine the Tokusatsu Spider-Man driving it around, Kamen Rider style. Of course, this figure was given the symbiote repaint, and it was also repainted in darker colors to match the movies. Spidey got a second figure, where he transforms into a supercar, which looks pretty cartoony but cool. This figure also received a black repaint. Venom is one of the only villains in the entire line. He transforms into a badass muscle car, which really fits his vibe. His robot mode is a bit awkward looking though. This figure was repainted into the only other villain in the line, Carnage, who looks great. That red muscle car really reminds me of Transformers Prime Cliffjumper. The Human Torch had a figure, being the only member of the Fantastic Four in the line. He transforms into a jet. We also had a Wolverine figure. He looks tough and rugged, bub. And I really enjoy these spring-loaded claws he has. He transforms into a rally truck. I like that he has some spare tires on the back. This figure was repainted into Wolvie's brown suit. Captain America got a figure as well. He transforms into a military Humvee, though the paint job is really ugly. He has a cool little shield that pops open. This figure was retooled into Iron Man for the Iron Man 2 line. There was also a Thor figure, who looks very mighty indeed, even coming with a little Mjolnir. He transforms into the most Crayola-ass plane ever. Like, this color separation is crazy, and not a lick of paint was applied to it. I kind of love how ugly it is. The last unique character in the line was Ghost Rider, back when Ghost Rider had some clout. Again, this is like a really good version of the MegaMorphs toy. Just a badass hog that transforms into a flaming skull dude. The last figures in the line I want to talk about are the most interesting, and I actually own them thanks to channel member Pleco, who gifted me this set at BotCon this year. There were two more Iron Man and Spider-Man toys, released as a 2-pack. Iron Man transforms into a stealth bomber plane, which is really cool, although his robot mode is painfully annoying, with a ton of back wing kibble just free floating. Spider-Man turns into a helicopter, with a super hollow cockpit. The robot mode is neat, but his ab crunch is super loose. These figures have a special feature though. They can combine. These two combine in both modes. The vehicle mode combo is kind of cool, and feels more complete than either of the separate vehicles do. The combined robot mode is terrible. Like, what the hell even is this? At least give me a freaky combined robot mode head or something. But instead it's like a weird Macross Gerwalk mode. Still, it's a really cool and unique set, and I'm happy to have something so strange in my collection. Overall, the Marvel Transformers crossover line wasn't the best, but it was interesting, and the toys are solid enough to actually enjoy, even if they're not the best Transformers ever. There were also several cancelled figures in the line, including a Human Torch repaint sporting a blue look, Punisher, which would have been a retooled Captain America, a Thing, which would have been a retooled version of the Hulk Bulldozer, and finally another combining 2-pack. This time featuring Iron Man and War Machine. The Iron Man looks like a Tron light cycle, while War Machine looked like a chonky swap vehicle. The combined mode looks fun too, though it doesn't seem like there would have been a robot combo this time. Maybe they learned their lesson from the Spider-Man Iron Man 2-pack. Ah, Bakugan, my old love. Bakugan was as important to me as Transformers and Bionicle when I was a kid, so it was super freaking important. And me and my friends bonded over the small transforming marbles. Marvel. Hey, did you know Bakugan randomly had a Marvel crossover? In 2011, Spin Master, in their infinite glory, released several Versus 2-packs, coming with a standard Bakugan, as well as a special Bakugan based on a Marvel character, which is incredibly bizarre considering they had never done a crossover like this before or after. The Marvel Bakugan were retooled versions of previous Bakugan released. The lineup included Iron Man, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, and Red Skull. This is the only Bakugan to my knowledge that is a literal Nazi. It's an odd choice. He was probably chosen because of the recent Captain America movie at the time, but still, the Red Skull over like Venom or Doctor Doom? There were variants of each figure. Iron Man, who had the most clout at the time, received several different repaints, including his comic look, stealth armor, Silver Centurion, and Extremis armor. Spidey got his classic costume as well as the symbiote costume. Wolverine had his blue and yellow costume as well as his X-Force outfit. Captain America had the weirdest picks to me. He of course had his classic costume, but his alternate costume is actually the costume worn by Bucky when he took the mantle after Steve's death in Civil War. So technically you could count them as two distinct characters. The Red Skull variants are so similar that they're hardly noticeable. There were also two cancelled Marvel Bakugan, Hulk and Thor, both of which look kind of good, at least for Marvel Bakugan. I like Thor's little hammer. Overall, these are cute, but stuffing these characters into the Bakugan aesthetic is so strange. Bakugan works because the vague approximations they turn into are inhuman monsters. When you apply these designs to human characters, they just come off as incredibly weird, but that's also what makes them charming and memorable. In Transformers Generation 1, there were two gimmick toys known as Jump Starters, Topspin and Twin Twist. They had simple gimmicks. Equipped with pullback motors, they would drive forward on their own, and at a certain point, their legs would flip forward, landing the figures on their feet. These are very neat toys. And interestingly, the McDonald's Transformers Armada Starscream actually used the same exact gimmick. I love this little chud, by the way. Well, for the Amazing Spider-Man toy line, there was a bizarre little subline called Flip and Attack, which, you guessed it, uses the exact same technology as Jump Starters. These are like fine. There are 3 Spider-Man toys and 1 lizard. I kinda like the lizard, but these are kind of whatever. I think the big issue with the Jump Starters is that the gimmick requires them to be a certain shape, so they all look a bit samey. But I just figured I should mention them because they are Marvel Transformers. The last Marvel Transformer we need to discuss is another official Transformer, this time via the Transformers Collaborative line. This is Ultimate X-Spanse. Released in 2021, this Transformer turns into the X-Men's iconic Blackbird jet. The most interesting thing about this toy to me is that it is a heavy retool of Studio Series Jetfire, going from the hunchback grandpa bot to the perfect posture Ultimate X-Spanse, or as I like to call him, Ultimate X-Pants. Also, why is he called Ultimate X-Pants? It looks like he's from the 616 comic book universe. So, that's a bit awkward. The toy also comes with a tiny Wolverine and Sabretooth, which is kind of cute, though I can't get Wolverine to stand. The jet mode really is a thing of beauty. The Blackbird is an awesome jet in general, and this figure does it justice. I also love the shade of blue that they used. It's so crisp. The robot mode is really interesting. At first I thought he was meant to be Cyclops, mostly due to the flip down visor, but really he's supposed to be an amalgamation of several X-Men. He has Cyclops' visor, as well as effects parts cast in Psylocke pink, giving him a Psylocke style sword, as well as a set of Wolverine claws. You could also argue that the little wings on his back could be for Angel, though that's a bit of a stretch. This is a pretty cool collaboration figure. I don't really usually like most of them, and I can't even say that I really love this figure. I think he's fairly neat, but I don't know, there's just no lore or anything to really connect me to him. It does surprise me that they haven't done more Marvel collaboration figures. I would love to see a transforming spider buggy at some point, or something like a helicarrier would also be cool. Thanks to TOYHAX for sponsoring this video, link down in the description below. And thanks to my video sources. All of their channels and videos have been linked down below. And I encourage you to check out the full reviews of any toy you thought looked awesome. Finally, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to support me further, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, both give you the same thing. Access to my super chill Discord server, where we talk about toys all the time. Also, I did want to mention I have a new podcast about toys called Retooled, that I host with fellow creator and one of my best friends, JCC2224. We talk about toys weekly on the show, and mostly try to make each other laugh doing dumb voices. We already have like 5 episodes out at this point, so please check it out. Alright y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!